At this point, we're going to have Nesamani talk about custom activity mode.
Thanks, Andy. I'm Nesamani Kalandiur. Now I'm going to talk about custom activity mode in EMFAC2014 model. I'll start with an overview of custom activity mode. Then I'll walk you through how to use custom activity mode with some examples. First, I'll demonstrate how to create custom activity template and then show you how to change the template to estimate emissions. Finally, I'll illustrate how to use SB375 option in EMFAC2014 model. As Kathy mentioned, custom activity is part of emission mode in EMFAC2014 model, highlighted in red color here. You can see this here. This is what the custom activity mode in emission mode here. If you have user-defined VMT, for example, from the regional travel demand model, you can use custom activity mode to estimate emissions. Custom activity mode uses VMT and speed provided by user to estimate emissions. Custom activity is mainly used for SIP planning, conformity analysis, and SB375 assessments. Custom activity mode is similar to EMFAC2011 SG scenario generator or what if scenario WIS generated in EMFAC 2007 and older versions. This is mostly used by MPOs, RTPAs, air district, and consultants. EMFAC uses custom activity data to calculate VMT scalar, basically ratioing the custom to default activity. Then it uses to scale default emissions, population, and VMT, as well as light duty vehicle trips. EMFAC2014 can estimate emissions for one season or one area type at a time. For example, you can't specify both summer and winter in the same input file. In general, it outputs three types of emissions report. The CSV is a simple comma-separated value. Mostly it's used for linking to another database like Microsoft Access for further analysis. The planning inventory is the most commonly used output format from EMFAC 2014 model here. It provides column for every pollutant and process in an Excel 2007 format. In a few minutes, I'll walk you through the spreadsheet and explain what each column means here. The SB375 output is similar to planning inventory, but it outputs only for 4 vehicle classes from LDA to MDV and limited to CO2 emissions and fuel consumptions only. I'd like to mention EMFAC is not the official GHG emission inventory model. For any GHG related inventory, please refer to the climate change emission inventory. The CTF is CDS transfer format is an internal format used by ARB to import emission inventory data into its internal emission inventory database and forecasting system. This slide shows how to create custom activity template. There are two types of custom activity input formats, one with the total daily VMT and the second one is VMT by vehicle class and fuel type. Custom activity template provides default VMT in an Excel format. User can use Excel to input the user-defined VMT. In a minute, I'll show you some examples there. Custom activity template also includes speed fractions by hour of day by vehicle class and fuel type. This is used as an input to custom activity mode to estimate emissions. Let's generate a custom activity template using the model here. So I'm going to go to the model, start from a new file, new. That's how it is. So as Andy showed, emissions and emission rate. Custom activity mode falls under emissions mode of the model. So click emission activity. And then first step for us is here to generate custom activity template. Click on generate custom activity template. Start. In this, here I'm going to use Butte as a case study and for this whole exercise here. So I'm going to select Butte. The sub area is like as Andy described, there are many ways to select like various things like statewide, air basin, air district, MPO, and county. Here I'm going to use sub area as the first example here. And then click next. just should have Butte, and then click next. The year calendar year we are going to do here is, in this example, let's pick 2015. The season is going to be summer. You can choose annual, summer, and winter. So I'm going to pick summer here in this example, and then click next. So here you have two options, as I said just a few minutes ago, like total daily VMT and VMT by vehicle and fuel type. For this example, I'm going to select total daily VMT. You can also choose select custom hourly speed fractions. Just let me click this one and show you how it looks like. Then click generate template, and then you need to save it. Where do you want to save this template here? So I'm just going to, for time being, I'm going to save it in a desktop. Click save. Generally it takes about 30 seconds to generate. Since I generated this already in this laptop, it should take less than 30 seconds, I guess. So let's see. This generally provides the multiple tabs. Here you see this is what it shows, like once it's generated, template is generated. So you can click OK, go back to the desktop. Here is the default template here. It's custom activity template for 2015. So as I said, like it generally provides the three tabs. The first tab is the settings tab. Second tab is the daily total VMT. That's the option we selected here. And then the third tab is hourly fraction, vehicle tech, and speed. So the primary purpose of the settings tab is to define the season or the month that's used in this one, and then it also provides whether the custom activity template contains activity for SB375 purposes or non-SB375 purposes. In few minutes, I'll explain why activity changes between SB375 and non-SB375 purposes. So you can change, the green color indicates that you can change the season or month. So if the same input could be used for other season like winter or by month, whereas the SB375 you can't change it, you don't have an option to change it. So it's this option. In this case, we selected non-SB375 run. So the next tab is the daily VMT tab. You can see the sub area is Butte, and the GI is geographic area index is 27 for the Butte, and the calendar year that we selected here is 2015, and the default VMT is like about 3.7 million VMT. So that's the template provides here. And then hourly fraction, vehicle tech, and speed. So you can see here it provides sub areas again, Butte, the GI is 27, the calendar year is 2015. It provides detail by each vehicle class, like vehicle tech. This is like EMFAC 2011 vehicle classes. It provides all 53 vehicle classes by hour. Like you can see the 24 hours for each vehicle classes here, all the way up to urban buses here. In this, you can see it goes all the way to urban bus gasoline by fuel type as well. And then each column gives you by speed bin, like 5 mile per hour speed bin. That's how it's differentiated here. It goes up to 90 miles per hour speed bin here. So this is a template. That's when you download the custom activity template, this is what you'll see here. So let's try another example with detail one, like another custom activity template. Let's try. So go back to the new screen. That's where it starts with. Click custom activity, generate custom activity template, click start. Again, I'm going to just choose Butte here. Maybe you can use even county here. Butte. Click next. Let's choose 2030 as a calendar year here. And the season, we can keep it as an annual here, for this example. And then this time I'm going to select, instead of total daily VMT, I'm going to select the VMT by vehicle and fuel type, and just to show you how that looks like compared to the previous example here. Let's click. I'm not going to select custom hourly speed fraction since we don't have any data on that. Let's click generate template. I'm going to save it on desktop. So it should be less than 30 seconds to generate this template. Yeah, it's even less than 30 seconds. So you can see that template is generated. Click OK. Go back to the desktop here. Here is the template. So you can see here it provides only two tabs, settings and the daily VMT by vehicle and tech. Since we didn't select the hourly speed fraction, so that's why you didn't see the third tab here. Otherwise, if you select that option, you will see the third tab as well. Again, the settings tab provides the parameter like the date and the time when we generated, and the season, annual or other seasons that we selected. Here in this case, we selected annual. And then it also indicates whether this is for SB375 RAN or non-SB375 RAN. So that's what it is. The major change you're going to see here between the previous template and this one is here, daily VMT by vehicle tag. Here you can see the county is the Butte, the GA is 27, the sub area is Butte. Again, the calendar year we selected for this example is 2030. You can see the VMT provided by vehicle class, like each vehicle class, the individual vehicle class VMT and fuel type, it's provided here. So that's the detail, like all those 53 vehicle classes are provided here. So this, if you are planning to change the VMT, for user-defined VMT for a particular vehicle class or particular fuel type, you can use this template to generate here, to generate emissions. So I'm going to close this and go back to the presentation here. Let's look at an example. Let's do a scenario here. This slide shows how to change total daily VMT. In this scenario, we are going to increase total daily VMT by 10%. First, we need to modify the custom activity template to reflect the new VMT. We could modify speed fractions if available. In this scenario, we don't have any speed fraction, so we won't change the speed fraction template. Output file will provide activity and emissions by area type, calendar year, and vehicle and fuel type. So let's do this example using the custom activity template that we just generated here. So I'm going to use the total daily VMT template. So the setting tabs clearly says it's non-SB375. The season is summer. As we said in this scenario, we are going to increase the total daily VMT by 10%. So I'm going to increase it 10% here. So this is going to be our new VMT. Copy and just I'm going to change this new VMT. So you can see this is our 4.1 million VMT is our new VMT. Save this file, close it. Since we don't have a speed fractions, we are not changing the speed fractions. In this example, you are going to use the default speed fractions that's available by vehicle class and by fuel type. So let's save this, close this file, go back to the model, file, new. So the mode that we are going to use is a custom activity mode. This time we are going to load the custom activity file. Click load custom activity file, start. So there is two options. The first option is EMFAC2014 custom activity file. We are also working on, as we speak, to load the EMFAC2011 custom activity file. Soon it's whenever it's ready, we'll release that option as well. So some of you might be having the EMFAC2011 input file, so you can use this option to run the EMFAC2014 model. So right now I'm going to choose the EMFAC2014 custom activity file option, load custom activity file. So it's looking for the file. So let's go on. The file that we updated is custom Butte 2015 summer one. So select this one. So it'll prompt you, it'll give you an indication as soon as it's loaded. So this is what it says, it's imported the file. So it's click OK. Then click next. So as I discussed earlier, generally it provides three options for you: the CSV, the planning inventory, and the CTF format. The most common output format used is the planning inventory. So I'm going to select the planning inventory option here. And he discussed what is the purpose of save data from this for future use. So I'm just going to select this option as well, just for future use. You can save some time. The general output, you can choose wherever you want to save the output file, but I'm just going to leave it as the desktop so that we can see the results easily, and click run. Generally it takes, if you run, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes. Since we ran this scenario already in this laptop, it should not take more than a minute. I think it should be less than, even in fact few seconds it should run. So as Andy was talking about, we can see here in the behind the screen, the console gives you what's going on, like SG executions began, and it shows you how much process is done, like 55%. So it took less than 4 seconds. to complete this whole exercise, since we ran this scenario already in this laptop. So that's why, otherwise it takes about 3 minutes to do that. So the run is finished. Click OK. Go back to the desktop and see the results here. Let's open the output file. Output file provides the 3 tab: README, glossary, and by sub area. So the README tab provides you the information, what is the type of the report. As we selected the planning inventory report format, so that's what it is clearly indicated here, and the date and time also it provides when we ran this model, this scenario. And the glossary is the one provides each pollutant name, like field name, and then what is the expansion for that pollutant name, and also its units, corresponding units, as well as the process that used, like running, idle, exhaust, and start, everything. It provides for all pollutants and processes as well. So you can see all the way from the fuel. It provides the fuel, gasoline and diesel. So it's in thousands of gallons. So that's what it is here. And by sub area, here is the results that provides by area, by calendar year, and by season that we used in this example is summer. It provides the vehicle tech. This is an EMFAC 2011 vehicle categories. That's about 53 vehicle categories it provides here. Some of you might be more familiar with EMFAC 2007 category. So that's what it provides here in this option as well. So if you are familiar with this, you can use that as an option to filter all your results here. And then it provides the population, vehicle population, the corresponding VMT, and the corresponding light duty vehicle trips, and then all pollutants it provides. So from TOG all the way to, it goes to ROG and CO, NOx, and everything up to the fuel consumption. So you can see that the fuel consumption is provided for gasoline and diesel. So this is your typical planning inventory output format when you run the EMFAC EMFAC 2014 custom activity mode. So you can see all the pollutants, and you can post process it, whatever the pollutant you are interested, or whatever the vehicle class that you are interested. So you can filter it using the filter option here. So let me close this file. Let's look at another scenario. This slide shows how to change VMT by vehicle class and fuel type. In this scenario, we are going to increase LDV VMT by 5%. For that, again, you need to go through the similar process. First, we need to modify the custom activity template to reflect the new VMT by vehicle class and fuel type. We could modify speed fractions if available, but we don't have speed fractions in this scenario as well, so we are not going to modify the speed fractions. Output file will be similar to previous example, will include the activity and emissions by area type, calendar year, and vehicle and fuel type. So let's go and do this example using the template that we already generated for this previous exercise. So I'm going to use this time custom activity by vehicle, VMT by vehicle and fuel type. So let's open this file. So this is again non-SB 375 run. This is the daily VMT by vehicle tech. So you can see that it provides for all vehicle classes. So as we discussed in this example, we are going to increase the light duty VMT by 5%. That is the LDA, LDT1, LDT2, and MDV. So those are the four vehicle classes I'm going to increase the VMT by 5%. So let's calculate. So this is going to be a new VMT. So let's update this VMT as change this here. So now we updated the new VMT here. You can see the changes here. So I'm going to save the file here. You don't have to worry about these columns, since the model is concerned only about this from A to F column. So that's why you don't have to worry. You don't have to delete this file. So still you can go ahead and save it. Close the file. Going back to the model, file, click new. So it's already in the new folder. So custom activity, select load custom activity file, EMFAC 2014. Going back to this one. So we are going to use custom view 2030 annual one. So that's the input that we updated now. So click. So it's immediately says it's imported. Click next. You can choose whatever the report type that you prefer. So I'm going to select again the planning inventory. Click save, and the output directory I'm just going to leave it as a desktop. So and then click run. So again, this took me, when I first ran this one, about less than 4 minutes. Here in this example, it should take run very quickly. You can see what's happening behind the in the console. So it even took less than maybe it took only 17 seconds to run this one. So that's very quick and fast. So click finish, then go back to the desktop. So this is the output file we saw. So again, the output format, as far as the output formats, there's no change. You can see the similar tab, the readme file, glossary, and the total butte. That's what it is. And the report format that we selected was planning inventory format, and the date and time, you can see that's 10:34:36 seconds. That's where it generated. The glossary, again, it provides all the pollutant names and the pollutant names and the units, corresponding units, as well as the processing here. So here again, it provides the area type, the calendar year, and the season we selected in this example is annual, and the fuel and the vehicle tech, it provides all those vehicle techs. You can see that the VMT that we changed for LDA, gasoline, all those things, you can see here how that's LDA VMT was 31,000 to LDA diesel VMT was previously 31,000 was the default. Now we updated to 33,000. So it's all reflected correctly here. And you can see their corresponding emissions by pollutant like TOG, ROG, and all the way up to the fuel consumption as well. So that as far as the output is concerned, whether you choose the VMT by total daily VMT or VMT by vehicle class and fuel type, it's the same type of output you'll get it here. So let's close this. Okay, here let's look at another example. This slide illustrates how to generate SB375 output in EMFAC 2014 model. Most MPOs will be interested in this example. SB375 output only includes 4 vehicle classes, that is LDA, LDT1, LDT2, and MDV. For SB375 runs, the advanced clean car and PAVLI1 regulations are turned off in the calculations. Since the advanced clean car programs assumes a different fleet mix and VMT, so output produced for SB375 purposes will not match the output produced for non-SB375 purpose. It estimates only CO2 emissions and fuel consumption. Again, I would like to reiterate, CO2 estimates from EMFAC model are not ERB's official GHG inventory. So for any GHG related inventory, please visit climate change inventory website. Let's do a scenario modifying the total daily VMT for SB375 purposes. So let's go back to the model. I'll click, it's new already, it's in the new folder here. So I'm going to click custom activity, generate custom activity template, because this is going to be a specifically SB375 run. Previous 2 examples were non-SB375 run. So I'm going to generate again SB375 template here. Start. This time I'm going to do is the MPO, since it's an SB375 one. For this case study, again, I'm going to select the VCAG as an example case study here. Click next. The calendar year I'm going to do here is for 2035. The season is going to be annual. Click next. And the VMT I'm going to do is like total daily VMT. You can, if you have a speed information, you can select, but we don't have speed information. But the important thing I want you to note here is like click the generate SB375 template. That's very important here when you do the SB375 run. So it's selected here, and then generate SB375 template. Let's save it here in our desktop here, and then it should take less than 30 seconds to generate this. It's very quickly done. As far as it provides the default VMT. So that's what it is here. So you can see the console here, what's going on behind. So it's done. Template is generated. Click OK. Go back to the desktop. So this is the template. It's generated, BCAG 2035 annual template. So Again, the three tabs which provided settings, daily total VMT and hourly fractions by vehicle and speed, tech speed. Okay. So the settings tab provides the parameters, date and the season, the annual one. So the main thing I want you to observe here, this is SB375 ran. So you can see it's on. Previous two examples it was off because those two were non SB375 ran. So that's the important thing I want you to observe here. You can't change this. Once your template is generated, you can't change this option here. And then look at the daily total VMT. It's MPO, BCAG, the GA is 27, and the calendar year we selected for this example is 2035. The default VMT is like about 4.8 million VMT. And then this is the corresponding speed fractions, default speed fractions. That's again MPO, the corresponding GI and calendar year. You can see all the vehicle classes from all other buses to up to urban buses here, but and their corresponding hour, 24-hour speed bin, and then the 5-mile speed interval here up to it goes to 90 miles per hour speed bin here. So let's change this example to, okay, let's do its what is the impact of 4 million VMT. So let's change it to make it as a 4 million. I'm just speaking as an example, hoping I'm adding exact not too much, or yep, it's 4 million. So let's save this, close this. Let's let's run the model and see what is the impact of the VMT change here in this example. Let's go back to the model, going to File, New, select the custom activity, load custom activity file, start. EMFAC2014 custom activity file here. I want you to observe how it changes. Like right now it's not selected, the SB375 run is not selected. Once you load the model, load the input file, it will show you, it'll change this location here. Let's load the input file, custom activity. Yeah, this is the custom BCAG 2035 annual. That's the input file we updated just now. It's loading. Yeah, it's imported. So click OK. You can see that it's SB375 run is selected. Since in the settings tab the SB375 was on, so that's why it's automatically selected this one. Click next. Again, I want you to observe, make sure that this button is again selected here. Please select report types as SB375 here. That's critical. You don't have any other option here, like you don't have a CSV or CTF format. This is specifically an SB375 run, so it's only you have this option. It's automatically selected. You can again click here to save data for future run. So I'm not going to change the directory here, output directory. I'm going to leave it here. Let's run this one. It took me about like 3 minutes, little less than 3 minutes when I first ran this scenario in this laptop. But since we ran this one earlier, it should run very quickly here. Let's look at the console. You can see already it's 55% of the analysis is done. It's running right now. Let's see how long it takes to complete the whole run here. Yep, it's done. So you can see the time it took. It's about 39 seconds it took to run this one. So the run is finished. Click OK. Go back to the folder where you saved the output. In this example, it's on our desktop. So I'm going to open the. So here is the again that it provides you the README, glossary, and total BCAG output. The main thing I want you to observe here is this: the output report format that we selected is SB375 report. So that's the important thing I want you to observe. And then the date and time that when we ran the model. And the glossary, again, you can see that since it's an SB375 one, it only provides us the CO2 emissions and the fuel consumption. It doesn't provide any other pollutants like criteria pollutants, anything here. And then the corresponding units and the process that you use to generate this one. And you can see the output is like area type is a BCAG, it's an MPO. And the calendar year we selected is 2035, and the season we selected was annual. You can see it's only provided the 4 vehicle classes that covers under SB375. That's LDA, LDT1, and LDT2, and MDV. Those are the 4 vehicle classes it's covered in this one. So you can see the VMT It's the 4 million VMT that we changed. That was a total regional VMT that included light duty as well as heavy duty. But this four vehicle classes VMT is only about 3.4 million VMT. So that's what the corresponding VMT here. You can see the corresponding trips as well as the CO2 emissions and fuel consumption. So it's a little bit of a simplified version of the planning inventory, but still it's in the process wise, it's the same process it goes through to estimate the emissions. So let's close this one. Going back to the slides. For more information about the custom activity, you can go to this link. Again, Kathy already discussed about it. If you go to this link, you can get the user's guide and the technical documentation as well. Chapter 4 of the technical documentation discusses the custom activity mode, and you can join our listserv. I'm sure most of you already joined here, and you can also contact us at EMFAC2014@erb.ca.gov. So that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have for next 5 minutes.
So thanks, Mani. So we have several questions related to the custom activity mode. First one by Jinghua Xu. In custom activity mode, when we update VMT information based on MPO's model, are the VMT and population adjusted accordingly? So that's the first part of the question.
Sure. Yes, it's as I discussed earlier on in the overview. It uses a scalar. Like here is this slide. You can see that the VMT scalar is generated based on ratioing. Basically, it's a ratioing between the custom VMT and the default VMT. That scalar is used to scale population, emissions, light duty trips as well, light duty vehicle trips.
And then the second question is VMT the only component that user can change? Can we update vehicle trips based on MPO's models, travel demand models?
In the custom activity mode, only you can update the VMT because that's what it's used as a scalar for that one. If you want to change the trips and everything, you might have to go back to the default model to change that option.
And another thing about EMFAC and travel demand models is that the trip definition in EMFAC is different than the travel demand model. So trip in EMFAC is basically a number of starts per vehicle, which is basically the main purpose of that is to calculate the start emissions and the hot soak evaporative emissions. For the trips in the travel demand model, as far as my knowledge allows me to talk about that, there are different definitions than what we have in EMFAC. So that's one of the reasons that we didn't incorporate that in the scenario generation.
Good. Thanks, Sam. That's really good. I think, as you know, the travel demand model has an origin and destination. So their trip type is defined based on the purpose of the trip, like home-based work, home-based school, and all those things. So they have more detail, whereas the EMFAC model is more on number of starts.
Key on, key off.
Key off.
Yeah.
Key off and key on.
Events,
yeah, that's right.
We have a question from Nicole Vermillion. The default activity mode and the custom activity SG with and without SP375 mode both generate VMT in EMFAC 2014. However, the model output for VMT differs slightly. What is the primary difference in how VMT was generated between these two modes, MPO activity versus socioeconometric adjusted VMT? Well, the reason, so basically we have three different modes here that you're mentioning: the default activity mode, the custom activity with SP375, and the custom activity is part of the planning inventory or the SG type of analysis. The reason that the custom activity without SP375 and the default activity mode, they have slightly different VMT is basically because of the scaling method we're trying to use. So we are, for those vehicle categories or even for those speed bins that there's no VMT, we are putting a very small number of VMT, a dummy VMT, within those categories. So when you're scaling for a vehicle category or in a region that there's no vehicles in our default model and you're assuming there is a VMT for that vehicles, then the scaling method can work and we do not have a division by zero.
I think another reason why the VMT is different between the SB375, non-SB375 is, like, as I mentioned earlier, the Advanced Clean Car program assumes a different fleet mix and VMT. So the output produced for SB375 is like, it doesn't include the Advanced Clean Car and PAVLI regulations. So that's why you see the difference between the default one and the SB375 VMT here.
Yeah, and in addition to that, due to the Advanced Clean Cars, basically the LEV 3 GHG and the ZEV mandate, we're going to have the operational cost of vehicles going to get lower. So we're assuming there's going to be a rebound impact on the VMT due to the advanced clean car regulation, or due to most of the EPA's fuel economy and ARB's fuel economy regulations. Since SB375 does not account for any fuel economy improvement, that we're not accounting for that rebound on the VMTs reported through the SB375 report. We have another question from Amir. What is the source of the default VMT by speed? I guess he's asking for the speed profiles for different vehicle classes and VMT by vehicle class. So maybe you can talk about the speed profiles, Mani.
Yeah, the speed profiles that we got in this one, it's the MPO speed profile that we got from the previous in EMFAC 2011 model. So that's what we used for in this in the custom activity template. So if whenever we get the new data from MPOs, we are going to update that for running the custom activity model when you run that one. So you have that flexibility to update that. Otherwise, it uses a previous version, the EMFAC 2011 speed fraction. So that's what it's reflected right now, the current version of the model.
This is Andy Alexis too. I just wanted to say the custom activity templates that are generated have the default data in there just as a guideline, because the previous version, EMFAC 2011 SG, had a lot of blank spaces for that. And at least it's the way I work. I like having a starting point.
Thanks, Andy.
We have a question from Robert Farley. Since EMFAC uses a VMT scaler, should we also scale MPO VMT, MPO base equals EMFAC base, so project is only the % growth?
Well, I'm not getting the question is clear on that.
So Robert, can you send your question? Can you clarify your question a little bit more, and we'll try to answer it at the end of the webinar.
Why don't we take the last one there?
Yeah, so the last one is again Jinghua Xu. Is the in default activity model, user cannot change any input for EMFAC. Yes, that is true. The input database cannot be changed through the default model. The second part of the question is there a way to report electric and natural gas vehicle emissions where EMFAC inputs can be customized?
Not at this point. Yeah, we don't currently have that capability. And just outside of that question, getting to the first comment, Mani had mentioned on the scalars, the chapter 4 of the technical document does have a list of all the equations and how the scaling is done is pretty much detailed in our technical document, chapter 4. So why don't we move on?